Mae Krier, an original Rosie the Riveter, was born in 1926 in North Dakota. After the bombing of Pearl Harbor, Mae, her sister, and a friend headed to Seattle, Washington, where Mae became a riveter for Boeing, making B-17s and B-29s for 92 cents an hour. She met Norm, her late husband, a sailor, on the dance floor in 1944. Norm was transferred to Pasco, Washington, and in April 1945 they married. She left Boeing to work for the Army Engineers with Italian prisoners of war in Pasco at 83 cents an hour. Eventually they settled in Pennsylvania, where they raised their two children and where Mae still resides today. Mae joined other Rosies to get the first National Rosie the Riveter Day in 2017 and the Congressional Gold Medal for Rosie in 2020. During the pandemic, through her Facebook page Honor Rosie, Mae, with the help of companies, groups, and individuals, made and mailed well over 6,000 red and white polka dot face masks. 5,000 masks went directly to her Honor Rosie followers. In 2022, her face mask and bandana were worn by Rosie the Rocketeer in the commander's seat of the Boeing Starliner, which traveled to the International Space Station and back. In April of 2024, Mae accepted the Congressional Gold Medal on behalf of all Rosies. It was a great honor to her. Mae continues to travel the world to promote Rosie the Riveter's legacy, and at 99 years, Mae still cuts her own grass. Now it's time to join Breaking Barriers with Mae Krier. Hello, Mae.
Good morning, Deb.
Am
I supposed to be on? Well, I'm all right. I was worried about being on mute.
Nope, you're good. You're good.
Good.
I don't have my uniform on today. I was just too cold.
Oh, yeah, isn't it the last one? I got this heavy sweatshirt on.
Yeah. Yeah. So, first of all, let's do our commercial. We have a commercial.
Okay.
Everybody, if you haven't gotten your copy of We Can Do It,
No.
please do. You can get it on Amazon or you can order it from your local bookseller. And it's a great book. It's about Mae, and it'll also help your kids do a little investigation to see if they have a Rosie in their family. So Mae, we have special guests today.
Yes, we do. Very special.
That's right. We have your friends, Jim McCoy and Westin. I'm not even going to try to say his name because I'm going to say it wrong. And they are from the Pacific Historic Parks. So let's bring them on, Brandy. Hi, Jim.
Hi, Westin.
Hello. Aloha.
Aloha.
What wonderful things you two men do.
Well, thank you, Mae. It's an honor to be here.
Thank you.
Your podcast. We're looking at your living room and remembering that wonderful dinner you had for us for Westin and I when we came to see you.
You were safe. I didn't make it.
Yes, we were there. Westin and I were there to film an oral history with her, which is on our website now. If everybody wants to see it, it's PacificHistoricParks.org, and it's the first Rosie the Riveter. We've done a number of Rosie the Riveters, but you're first in line on the website now, Mae, because you were the latest to be posted. We had a great interview with you, and Westin and I really enjoyed our time there. I'm sorry we ate all your food.
Well, Lori and I really loved having you there. We had so much fun while you were there. There we are.
Yeah. How's your daughter doing? Your granddaughter?
Well, it's such a pleasure, especially with you coming from Hawaii and doing these interviews with all of us Rosies. That's so rewarding to us because we're all at the end of the line. There's not many of us can still come forward and speak up and, tell our stories. And right now it's really important because, like I say, we're walking history. Soon we'll just be a page in a history book if they still teach history. I'm not sure about that. But what a pleasure it was having the two of you there visiting and interviewing us. I wasn't sure it was so casual. I wasn't sure how the interview was coming out or how it was going. And we didn't realize that we were in a video even.
Well, that's great. So let's start out with Westin and Jim. Tell us your titles, and then tell us about Pacific Historic Park, so everyone knows where you're at and what we're talking about.
Okay, I'll go start, Westin. Pacific Historic Parks is a nonprofit that's based in Hawaii, and we're a 501c3. We basically have a mission to remember, honor, and understand World War II. Pearl Harbor National Memorial is a key park. We're there every day. Westin actually works there most of the time, but we basically have 5 other parks under our umbrella. But we focus on Pearl Harbor today because that's where Mae was, and we could talk about that. We've been around for over 40 years. The Pacific Historic Parks was renamed after we started getting other parks. We used to be Arizona Memorial Museum Association. Then before that, it was formed as by the National Park Service. What was it, Westin? You said? Jump in here, Westin. Oh yeah, the Fleet Reserve Association Branch 46 was the first name of it. Then it became the Arizona Memorial Museum Association, and then it became Pacific Historic Parks. So it's been around. We're a long time. We're basically a leading history organization, and we really enjoy telling the Rosie story in addition to all the stories about the World War II veterans and the survivors. And Mae, you're absolutely right. The trip we went on to see you, we went and saw a World War II Pearl Harbor survivor that lives in Ohio and interviewed him before we came to you. His story, Forrest Stidham, is on our website too. So I encourage your viewers, if they want to check out some oral histories, we have a lot of them there, and Westin has done a lot of great jobs, great work doing that. So Westin, why don't you tell them what you do in Pacific Historic Parks?
Yeah, so my name is Westin Saito. I'm an educator and interpreter at Pacific Historic Parks. Predominantly, I bring school students from all around the world to Pearl Harbor. I coordinate with our different historical associations as well too. And I think one of the main things is I'm always teaching people about all the different histories that happened here at Pearl Harbor and really what happened afterwards. So, Mae's story is, after the attack on Pearl Harbor, she joined the workforce. And, I always make sure that I tell that to all of our students that, when a lot of our young men went off to the war, students, so who built all the ships? Who built all the planes? They're like, well, if dad had to go to war, who's building all the ships? They're like, oh, Mom. It's like, exactly. The women were building all that. So we're constantly making sure that the history and the story of the Rosie Rivers lives on. So really a pleasure to be here.
Well, thank you.
Westin, you tell a little bit about your background, your story. I keep telling you, it's so amazing to find a genuine Hawaiian.
Well, I'm not Hawaiian by blood, but I'm born and raised here in Hawaii. I'm actually born and raised at Pearl Harbor. My mother and father were some of the first Rangers at Pearl Harbor when they first opened up in 1980. And I've been raised around Pearl Harbor survivors my entire life. I've called them grandma and grandpas throughout my entire life. They taught me how to read, taught me how to count. They taught me how to divide using old Hershey bars, chocolate. I later realized that they were just taking my chocolate, but I did learn how to divide and count. So it was a win-win.
Jim, I know you're Air Force, Jim. How did you
Yes.
Well,
I came. I was a military brat, Air Force brat. I moved to Hawaii in 1970. I was a junior in high school, so now you can figure out how old I am. but it was a great experience for me to be in Hawaii because my dad was a chief master sergeant, and he came home one December day in Nebraska on a cold winter day and said, "Family, we got news. We're moving to Hawaii. We're being stationed in Hawaii." And I was, Yahoo! I'm gonna go to
Which we were there right now.
We had my dad was stationed at Hickam Air Force Base. He actually, one of his jobs was to map rescue missions from Hickam for downed Air Force pilots in Vietnam. So, and he went on to become the Chief Master Sergeant Air Force in 1979, which is a very significant job. So, very proud of him. We lost him a couple years ago, and he and my mom are buried at the Omaha Veterans Cemetery. And at a cemetery, he actually was a leader in making sure that the Midwest had a veteran cemetery. So, very proud of my dad and his legacy. And when I got this job, he actually kind of looked at me and he goes, "This 7 years ago," because I was always a news guy. I worked at Star Bulletin and Channel 2 News for 20 years. And he said, "I'm proud of this job, Jim," because he liked the fact that I was a history guy then, and give me my background in history growing up. He always stressed to me the importance of learning your history. And so we try and instill that to everybody we talk to. So that's my story. I've been living here now since 1970, on and off. For 4 years, we moved to Seattle, but then back here, I missed the food and the local style, so I've been getting back. So,
well, this is the enormous job that you and Westin do. People don't realize till they go there how huge and how involved it is to put a program on, especially like what you do for Pearl Harbor, December 7th, that time. But you do that year round. But you have to see it to understand. Every one of those ships, there's stories, there's trips, it's just absolutely amazing, especially for us to see these things. And we couldn't do it if it wasn't for people like you. I don't think the people realize how much is involved in what it takes, like for men that do these things. I think not only you must do it for the love of doing it too, because that's an enormous job.
It's a wonderful job. It does take a lot of time, but when I have the chance, we have the opportunity to reach about 12 to 15,000 students each year and talk to them directly at Pearl Harbor with place-based learning and give them the full experience so that they understand where their grandparents and their great-grandparents come and what they had to go through during that time period. To me, it's such a privilege to make sure that these stories, your stories of your generation, are continued on. So I think that's the most important thing for us, is to make sure that these stories do not just become history on a page, that they are constantly being told. So it's a great responsibility. It's very humbling to take that on, because I've been asked by a lot of the property providers, make sure that they tell our stories and not just become a page in the history book. So happy to do it, Mae. Tired, but happy to do it.
But you do, each ship is a ship, and the stories of the men, it's amazing for the men, the veterans, to come back and see the program regarding their ship. There's a lot we think of Arizona as the mainstay of Pearl Harbor, but there's many other ships that are involved, right, Jim?
Yes, there's many others. Arizona was one of the 3 battleships that actually never resurfaced. Most of the ships that were sunk or heavily damaged December 7th were retrofitted and put back into service. But the Arizona, the Oklahoma, and the Utah, the Oklahoma actually was finally righted and put back, but they didn't feel it was ready for service, and they were sent it to the mainland Hawaii, mainland United States, but it sank in a storm. The Utah is still visible. It's off Ford Island. And if you ever get to visit Pearl Harbor, and if you have an opportunity to see the Utah, it's quite a sight. But the Arizona Memorial is the most visited site in Hawaii, and it's a very solemn experience. We don't call it an attraction; we call it memorial, because there's 900 guys still buried there, still below deck, and it's when people see it for the first time, see tears, see emotion. When they're told the average age of the sailors and the names of the 1,177 names on the plaque, the wall, the average age is 17, 18 years old. They're just, one of the Rangers one day had a really good, he said, everybody here who's 17, 18, 19, 20 years old, raise their hand. And the ones that raise their hand, and then, and they said, and then he told the story about, and he said, that's the average age who died here. And it really impacted those teenagers and those young adults. And that's what we strive to do. We strive to bring the story to them, on the memorial, at the park. We have virtual reality experiences, which are popular with youngsters. We have obviously the museums. We have the bookstore. May, you remember the bookstore you went through there with Marion, and you
Right?
did some you did some posing with some of the yeah.
But Jim, one of the things I'm finding so fascinating, and I didn't know about it, I don't know how long ago this started, but how they're burying the men that are passing away now. They're taking them down to the Arizona, and that's where they're spending their last days.
Yeah.
Explain that. I didn't know about that.
There's 45 Arizona. There's 45 men who survived the attack on December 7th, and it decided that instead of being buried with their families, plot in whatever state they came from and all that, decided to be reburied with their shipmates. And it's a very beautiful, formal, and emotional ceremony run by the National Park Service and the U.S. Navy with Pacific Historic Parks assisting. And it's 45 of them have done that. And and there may be more because there's a Operation 85 is something that's been happening, and you'll be reading about it in the news a lot. That there's a move to try and disinter the unknowns at Punch Bowl Cemetery, which is in Hawaii, that are marked unknown USS Arizona sailor. So that's something to be watching for. But it is a very solemn place, and it's just something that if you visit, it's a must see. Now, one tip about the visit that if you're going to visit, you can go on our website. It's called recreation.gov, and you can pre-order your tickets. It's only $1. Isn't it $1, Westin, or $2?
It is $1 through the National Park Service to try and organize tickets to go out. So we always suggest people to do that, especially during the summer months. If you're planning to come on down, it does get quite busy. I grew up in a time where we used to just hand out every tickets first thing in the morning. If you were not here 7 o'clock when the gates open, don't bother. Just come another day. Enjoy the rest of Hawaii. We'll see you another day. So it is a lot better for guests to come to Pearl Harbor now. But, Mae, just to let you know, we've been interning men at USS Arizona since 1982.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah, Gunner's Mate Tesla was the first one, and that only happened after the National Park Service finally took operational control in 1980. So there are 45 men who have returned, like Jim said. There's even one brother in 2016 who reunited with his twin, the only twin on USS Arizona, Jack Anderson. He reunited with his brother Delbert Jake. So first time in 75 years that they were reunited on USS Arizona. So it is a very emotional and powerful ceremony that happens here. Predominantly, it's usually the Admiral of the Pacific Fleet who presides over that ceremony or one of his staff. And then the urn is slowly dived down into the turret and placed inside. So like Jim said, we may have some more men who return. But unfortunately, with the last Arizona survivor passing away, it's really going to rely on the families at this point, because it was always dependent on the survivor, the sailor or the Marine, to decide what they wanted to do, which was Luke Haunters. He was originally planning on coming back, but with his passing of his wife, he wanted to be reunited with her. So they're buried in Sacramento, if I remember correctly.
It's so emotional to see these men that they're barely able to walk, a lot of them. But when you tell their story about their ship and honor them, but there's a lot of tears shed in Pearl Harbor. That's amazing. And that's the first time just recently where I seen, I guess it was SEALs taking the bodies down to the memorial to bury them. Is that who takes down
they're divers, usually they're National Park Service, sometimes Navy. We actually had a person who worked at PHP who was she's now in the Coast Guard, and she was given the privilege of diving for an interment, and there were 2 women in a three member interment process. The thing that struck me about we talked to divers who say that when they get down to the turret and they're carrying the urn, when they go in the water and then they dive down to the turret and they put the urn in and it pulls and it's like they say that it's like welcome home, sailor. It's just,
Is that true that oil is still, you still see oil coming out of the?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I
There
think
was
yeah.
there was years ago, somebody's told me when the last survivor dies, there's not going to be any oil. But Lou Conter died over 2 years ago, and there's still oil, and he was the last survivor. But
That's amazing. Another thing I remember, when we were there, the Missouri was in the. Now I don't remember when they brought the Missouri into the harbor, but years ago, one of my great grandsons was over there, and he got to go aboard. I guess is it for tourists now? Is that what it says? The battleship that was World War II was signed on. Is that the Missouri, right?
The Missouri is parked right next to the Arizona Memorial. It was Westin, where it was in Bremerton, Washington, right? When it was there was a move.
World War II. That was a ship. The World War II was all the signature. That's where all of the things were signed, all of the documents and what have you after World War II.
Oh,
was
yeah.
over.
Yeah. The deck.
Now, is that open? I guess it's open to tourists.
That's open.
Yeah.
It's one of our partner parks, USS Missouri, and they also have the Pearl Harbor Aviation Museum and the Bowfin Submarine Museum. And so when you go to Hawaii, when you go to Pearl Harbor, you give yourself a full day if you want to see all four, or come a couple of days because it's so much history. You enjoy it. So,
Well, we have a couple pictures of Mae when she came on for the 80th anniversary. You want to put them up,
sure.
Randy?
Oh, there we are.
That's one of my favorite pictures, Mae. That was COVID years, right? Sort of.
Yeah.
That was Mae on the memorial, and that picture was, I have it on my computer all the time. Look at all that. Look, my hair is so much not gray. Anyhow, Mae, you were very the Rosies, when they went to Pearl Harbor, they were very, very well respected, and I call them rock stars, but I can't really call them rock stars. Most rock stars don't behave nicely, and Mae and the Rosies are just really, they're diplomats, and they're just ambassadors, and they're just everything you want them to be. There's a picture of Mae with. So the guy on the left is the guy named let's see now. Anyway, that's
Jack Holder.
Jack Holder. Marion's with you. Marion Wynn, the late Marion Wynn, and then that's Jack Holder's assistant, and then the Mae, and then that's the Reverend Gahu, and that was on the that was in the 80th anniversary. That was actually one of the times when we conducted the ceremony out at Kilo Pier at the Pearl Harbor base. Most of the time it's at Pearl Harbor National Memorial, but so that was a long time ago, Mae. We want you back.
Yeah, and Jim, if you want to talk, I remember, Mae, you actually visited a couple places during the 80th, not just Pearl Harbor, right?
Right. And it was so heartwarming on the Arizona. I placed flowers in the water for two different families that asked me to do that before I came over. And one of them was from a lady from Illinois. And it's so amazing. She just follows me and sponsors anything that we want. It's really amazing. I never met the woman, but she's outstanding. Now, her name is Annie Prather, and wherever I need her mom, she seems to be right there. She's really promoting our books and things like that. And her father, she was so thrilled that I placed flowers in the water for her father. Said a little prayer.
So
Mae, we remember, Mae, you doing that because we were with you, and the flowers are a huge tradition in Hawaii, and it's the petals. You don't want to throw an entire lei in. You have to put the petals, but you put them either in the over the side or in the well, and they float out, and it's just really a somber, moving ceremony when they do that.
Well, yeah. At first, I think it was over the side. Then when we were there, it was at the well when I placed the last one.
Yeah.
So tell us about how the Rosies. You get a lot of Rosies, and how they participate in off-site visits. Where do you take them?
Why don't you go in the education, but also talk about I'll talk about Mae's trip to the airlines, and you tell them about the school visits.
Sure, absolutely. So, one of the key things is, when Mae and Marion came, It was still kind of during COVID, so we were still trying to adjust. But then we noticed that there were a lot more Rosies who were interested in coming out of Pearl Harbor. And one of the key things is, this is a wonderful experience that, I'm getting to meet these ladies who were so inspirational, part of the greatest generation. But wait a minute, this information needs to be passed on to others. So one of the key things is I started to talk to some schools around Oahu. St. Andrews was the first school. It was an all-girls school at the time, and their entire school came out to meet Marion Wynn and Marion Suze the following year. Unfortunately, I'm sorry, Mae. So we hope you come back out so we can bring you out to some schools. But they asked questions. They heard from both Mariannes about their life experience, and the young ladies performed a traditional oli, which is a Hawaiian chant as a thank you to the ladies for what they did during their time of service, and then also for them to teach and explain to them about how they can inspire the next generation, because that's always what we are. We're the shepherds of the next generation. We have to constantly pass on this information. So we've gone to St. Andrews, we've gone to Sacred Hearts, and then La Pietra this year as well. But so we're constantly trying to bring out these Rosies to make sure that they can go out to these schools and make sure the next generation is getting this information from firsthand sources. Just like how Mae said, these are walking people who have all this history. We need to make sure that is constantly getting out and documented. But Mae had a wonderful time at I think it was Hawaiian Airlines, right, Jim? Mae?
Right.
That was kind of interesting. I didn't get to go, unfortunately.
Yeah. Well, it was one of those things where we had the female mechanics and engineers, all female group came to see you, Mae, and you guys did a little talk in a classroom, and then you walked into the hangar. And one of the things you did that made one of the Hawaiian Airlines employees laugh so hard, you were pointing at a rivet. You said, "You're not doing that rivet right."
When I was in Normandy, this was the first time they set up. I didn't know they were planning this. They set up they had the compressor and everything there. They wanted to know. They didn't even tell me. They just brought me over and had me rivet, and I laughed because I hadn't riveted one for 75 years, but I hadn't lost my touch. I could still do it. That surprises you because you don't realize it. It's just, I guess, like riding a bicycle. You always remember how to do it. Might not do it as well, but that was quite an honor for me.
That was a great trip. The Hawaiian Airlines employees were just so enamored with you guys, and just with you and your history and what you've done for the women. And speaking of the school groups, one of the things the kids are going to really like doing, we have the Rosie the Riveter poster, and they go up and pose with you guys.
Well,
Deb do that all the time.
Yeah, we do it. Deb and I. Deb, tell them about what we do with the Zooms and with the schools too.
Oh yeah, we do. We in fact, I just remembered we have to set a date with Kate. I just wrote it down because I've been forgetting. Mae does Zooms with classes. So usually it's high school when they're learning World War II. If you have any classes out there that would like to Zoom with Mae, we can arrange it. Her and I do it. We show some pictures of her past and what she did, tell her story, and then Mae talks to the students. And there's one story, a student who went home and told her dad she wanted to be an engineer. And the father said, that's a hard job to get into for a girl. And she said, I saw Rosie the Riveter, I can do it. And she's in school for engineering now.
Well, this is kids this week. I just did an engineering magazine. In fact, we're going to be on the cover. It's engineering and mechanical. And I said yes to the interview, and then I called back and said, no, what do you want me for? And he said, it was amazing. The magazine's coming out now. And I guess it's just the fact that we've opened the doors and women can do so many. Sometimes depends on what the engineering job is, but sometimes women are as good or better than the men, regardless of, it just depends on what they decide they want to do. one of the young girls that I love to tell her story, she became a welder, and she makes catalytic converters. And her grandfather tells me she's very artistic with that torch. So, I mean, and now she's the young one, less than 30, I believe. And it's just so amazing when you hear these stories where they realize that that's not a man's job anymore. I can do it too. And we're always pleased when they realize that that they go ahead and try what they think they're capable of.
So get in touch if you want her to talk to any students.
The other thing,
that's well, definitely. I have a lot of students and teachers who'd be interested. So you just opened up a box.
That's okay. We want to keep that box open.
Well, yeah,
I want to add one thing about the last school visit we had. There were Tammy Brumley was with us with Gene Gibson and some other Rosies, and we noticed some of the young ladies and the students were just so emotional hearing the stories. They were crying. It was, it was just like, and they went home and just was it stuck to them, that especially when they talked about the work you did, the money you made per hour, when they went, wow. And then they go, but you don't have to translate it to what today's dollar made. So, May, you were making more than $1 an hour, I read, for a while.
92 cents.
It's so funny because I love it. These young girls a lot of times just need that word of encouragement. At home, probably they don't encourage them because they figure it's not open to women, what have you. But if she really has a dream and a stranger says, how would you know if you don't try it? And they realize, well, maybe I can do that too. When I was in New Orleans the last time, they asked me what I do with some podcasts with, or not podcasts, with Zooms. And they had a couple of classes on from New York. And one of the boys was a senior, and I was asking what they wanted to do. And he said, I want to be a lawyer. And I said, oh, no. And they all started to laugh. I said, well, it's great to be a lawyer, but be a good, honest one. So you never know what I'm going to say.
So I think you've already answered how important is the Rosie the Riveter movement. Apparently, it's very important to the students.
And now that
absolutely.
Now that we've almost got that medal, that memorial pinned down, that's going to be so great. We got to work hard to earn the money for Rhea, but she's doing a wonderful job. So
the other thing
you met Rhea when you were in Washington, didn't you, Jim? That young girl that spoke.
That was a memorable visit. I was just so honored to be there, But one of the things that the Rosie movement, a lot of people don't know, is that it really was a pivotal point in history. Because it paved the way for the women's rights and civil rights. And, the fact of the matter is that when the war was over and the men all came back, you guys mostly got thrown out, got fired. But then again, it sowed the seeds for women can do it. They can do those great jobs, those hard jobs.
Well, Jim, for years, the veterans didn't treat me like, what's she doing here kind of thing. I was at a big affair in Detroit, and they were taking pictures of all the men at the back of the banquet hall. And they come and got me and my friend, and they said, one man, he was a younger man, he said, what are these women doing in here? And I looked at him, I said, had it not been for us women, you might not even be here right now. And this is true. He fought a younger war, probably Vietnam or something. I'm not sure what it was, but he didn't realize or seem to care what the women did to save our country and the world. It took a long time for him to wake up and realize that, we deserve some credit.
Absolutely. Yeah, we could not have done it.
The legacy lives on.
People doing everything in the home front. I mean, when I tell students today, when they walk into the museums and they're seeing the aircraft carriers, it's like, students, we started the war with 3 aircraft carriers, 3 in the Pacific Ocean, and we won. We were against 10. We have a problem. And they're all like, so how many did the women build? They're like, 5, 6. They're like, no. 151. 151 aircraft carriers. The ladies in Michigan built a bomber, a B-24, in 68 minutes. And these numbers are insane at what the women could do during World War II. And I guarantee, all the men who knew what was going on, they're like, we could not have done it without that. If the women were not building this stuff, no one wants to fight hand to hand. As obviously the worst thing you can do. So if the women did not build it, the men would have to be fighting hand to hand, and that's always the one of the worst things possible. So we all had to come together as a nation. The kids were grabbing the scrap metal. So I think that was truly an amazing time. The greatest generation, what they all did, and they came together in the United States.
Well, the men back in my day in 1941, they still thought the women belonged in the kitchen. They didn't give us really credit for how capable we were. I always love to tell that story about Hitler said American women wouldn't have any trouble defeating America. American women couldn't produce. He said we were soft and spoiled. He said we spent too much money on stockings and frivolous things. I think we showed Hitler what American women were made of. I love to tell that story.
Right. Well, we're running out of time. One, grateful that the power stayed on. And
Thank you, Power.
Next is, so how can our viewers help with the park?
Thank you for the question. Well, we are a nonprofit, and we basically depend on public support. And that means that if you're interested in history, and one of the things we do, we put out a magazine. This happens to be one of the covers. Hello.
Nice.
Yeah. And we do a lot of stories about the veterans, the survivors, as we talked about, the stories about the battleships and all this World War II stories, Pearl Harbor specifically, but we extend out to Guam and Saipan because we have parks there too. But also we basically, if you want to join up to be a member of Pacific Historic Parks, it's only $35, and it gives you a whole year membership, and you get discounts on the things you buy at the store, and also just in online too if you're a member. So encourage you, if you wanted to sign up, it's pacifichistoricparks.org. That's it right at the bottom. And please join us and join our membership, and we really appreciate that, and that would help because we also work with other organizations, the Rosie the Riveter Trust up in Richmond. There's some great people up there. We work in conjunction with them, and we'd like to say that thank you very much for having us. And if you got any questions, Westin, you want to add anything? Did I miss something about what we're? Oh yeah, we're a women-led organization. Eileen Etterdyke is our CEO. So yeah, she's our boss.
Then people should listen to what you're saying, and if possible at all, go to Pearl Harbor, read about it. They'll never forget. This is history, and they'll never forget the visit to Pearl Harbor. There were so many things we didn't know about it. I was a teenager when Pearl Harbor was bombed. I knew nothing about Ford's Island or Pearl Harbor itself. I knew about Hawaii, but we didn't know about our fleet and what was going on. We were young and naive, and I don't think we were sophisticated about the rest of the world at the time. And so when you go there, you're stunned. You love the history, but you're you're overwhelmed, I should say. And what a wonderful job you men do. I mean, there's not a time that you're not interested or involved.
We're a team. We have a lot of members of our team, and if you wanted to look at some history, like check out Mae's oral history, just as an example, on our website, and on the other roses we have there. And then we also have a number of Pearl Harbor survivors and World War II veterans that we've profiled in recent years. Westin and I have done a number of those together, and we're appreciative that they give the time to do it because it's important to record the history too. Mm-hmm. It is very important. So
a good example was Barbara coming home. My friend Barbara, when she came home, she just raved and talked about it all the time. She was so impressed and had such a wonderful time. And I think that's a good example of what you do. Now, because she wanted for years, she's wanted to.
Well, if you want to give, so call a tease. If our next copy of Remembrance has a story about Barbara Spaventa's grandpa who was killed in Okinawa, and how Ernie Powell came into that story. So that's something to watch for. So.
Okay. Well, listen, thank you very much for keeping history alive. We have to do that. We need to do that. And thanks for being on our podcast. We will certainly put some links on our Honor Rosie Facebook page so people can easily find the Pacific Historic Parks. So thank you guys very much.
And keep up the good work. You're doing a great job. We can do it.
That's right. Thank you.
Come on, Mae, give me the arm. Give me the arm.
Come on, Mae, give him the arm. There you go. So that was great, Mae.
That was.
I enjoyed that. I learned a lot. I'm going to go on the website and learn more. So we have a special birthday coming up in a little over a month, don't we?
Who's that?
Some woman I know who's going to beat the warranty on her mattress.
I just got a message from one of the men. He's going to name an animal. He has going to name an animal for me. Anyhow, he emailed me this morning that he's going to do something for getting Mae on my birthday. I said, you're going to miss it.
There you go. That's right. That's right. But we're going to have a special. Live birthday party for Mae in March, and we will let everybody know far in advance about that, so everybody can be online and listen. And we want to remind everybody another commercial about the book.
Oh, Deb, when the Deb, my niece, my nephew brought his children came up for the funeral this week from Georgia, and they had 4 books with them. I'm signing the books, and the people are coming over to me and wanting to know where they can get a book.
That's good. Good advertisement. Okay, there we go.
Exception after at the funerals we're promoting.
Hey, it works. All right, Mae. Well, this was a great podcast, and I guess we should power up.
Yep.
Okay. Power up. Be kind, everybody. Be kind to one another. Hang in there. We'll see you soon.
Thanks.